Hello everybody, this is T from Kate's Crafted Closet. If you're out there on social media world, you see me post these tags on Facebook and on Instagram. And I was have a request to do a tutorial. I can't do one per se the exact same way as either one of these, but we're going to do basically the concept of it is the same. I'm not going to do the craft one because I did one on craft and one just a white tag. And like I said, we're going to go through a little bit of the process of how I did the white one because it's just a little bit easier. And this one has a little bit more things going on with it than this one. But I will tell you one thing about the distress paint. The patina paint, Salvaged Patina, is a must. If you like to play around with mixed media and you want to vintage up a piece, this is great because I did that with this little Cameo. And if you're interested in some of these cameos, let me know. And I could put those in the store too because I have quite a few of them. It would be like, I put them in a dollar T-spot, which everything in the dollar T-spot is only $1. So I'll kind of explain what I did to this one. Just basically did, you know, the background and stuff like that, which we'll do on the other one. And this is one of the embossing folded Impresslits from Sizzix and Tim Holtz. And remember, these are going to retire. After they're gone, they're gone. They're not going to come back. So it's one and done. And then these just released. I only have a couple of these left in the store, so make sure that you go grab you one of those before they're gone. And I said I just cut those out of black and white cardstock. And this one was using this is from Prima. This was some wax. This is it, the Peacock color. One left in the store of that one. And I just kind of wiped it on there. That's why you can see a shimmer. But if you don't have wax, you don't like to mix with wax, you can just use your paint, your distressed paints, or you can use your distressed inks and color those butterflies up however which way you want to. So that's kind of what I did. So let's go ahead and get started, and we'll get a semi version of the white tag. So the first thing you're going to need is a white tag. And also, if anybody be interested in me putting a kit together for these, that I would give you enough product for 6 tags, which will have the major elements in it, meaning the tags, the rubons that we're going to use. It won't include the ink pad. You'll have to get that on your own. And we also have the ink in store. So we're going to be using the Salvaged Patina Oxide because it's super easy to blend. And we're also going to be using the Salvaged Patina Distress Embossing Glaze. And you don't have to use the glaze if you don't want to. You can use something completely different. Clear embossing powder will work as well. So the first thing we're going to, I'm sorry about that noise. First thing we're going to do is just ink our backgrounds up. And the most important thing about this, you don't have to be perfect with this. And I'm not going to do the whole thing because it's going to shake this desk like a no tomorrow. So just kind of ink it all up. Don't get super concerned about coverage because most of it's going to get covered up with other things for these tags. So you want to make sure this is dry because that is a hybrid ink, which means it has pigment, which means it'll stay wet a little bit longer. So I have one already made and it is already dry. So the next thing we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to do some embossing with that glaze, and we're not doing nothing precise. You know, we're just randomly doing it. And because you can use clear embossing powder for this as well, you can also use your embossing ink. But today, I'm just going to spritz a little bit of water on it because we're also going to get that oxidation going on with that tag. So I just have a spray bottle of water sitting here right next to me. I'm just going to squirt off to the side. Just one little squirt. Then I'm going to take that embossing glaze because it's going to stick to that water. Like embossing powders and glazes just need something to stick to. And water allows it to stick. And this is also going to act as a resist. It's going to trap that color underneath. And then we're going to go ahead and do another technique with that. And so I'm just going to pour this back into my container and make a mess as always. But that's okay. Making a mess is fun. I'll put that top on later. So I'm just going to clean off that embossing powder so it doesn't melt and stick to my glass mat. We're going to come in with our heat tool. Any heat tool will work. You can even use your heat gun, but we're going to just melt our glaze. And these glazes are they're translucent, so that's why it'll show the color underneath. And because I'm doing tone on tone, it intensifies that ink underneath it, makes it a lot more brighter. But you can see when it melts because it gets shiny. And you can tilt it if you have a problem noticing. And the water just gives me a sporadic splatter. And that, you'll see how that works with the next little technique that we use for this tag. And to me, this is a fun part. I love doing this. Watching it melt, do its thing. You just want to make sure this is dry before you move on to the next step, so you don't get embossing powder all over you or burn yourself. Alright, so that should be good. And like I said, I'm going to still come in and wipe some of this. I can feel the powder everywhere, and that grittiness drives me insane. So here we have our, like you see, it's shiny and nice and smooth. So next thing we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to come in with an oxide. I'm going to use a brown because we want this to be vintage and vintage it up. So I'm going to go with walnut stain. And this is where the resist part comes into play, and you'll notice it. Like I said, if you don't have the glaze, you just want to use clear embossing powder so you can see that color underneath. That's fine. So we're just going to go ahead with that walnut stain, and we're going to vintage that up. And wherever there's not embossing powder, you're going to get that walnut stain. Wherever there is, it's not going to show up. You're going to just take a rag and wipe it off the top. And anywhere, like that's why I used the water, because I'm going to get some inside of those areas that were not wet, and then grab the embossing powder. So that's kind of why I used the water as opposed to using Versamark or embossing ink pad. And because this is oxides, it goes on pretty easy. And this, like I said, don't be super concerned about coverage. It doesn't need to be perfect. Just get it on there. Because like I said, we're going to add more elements to this as we go along. I'm just trying to fill out the top part more than I'm worried by the bottom part. Because that bottom part is going to be covered by the butterfly and our other pieces of it. So we got that done. I'm going to come back in with my rag, and I'm just going to wipe off the excess, which may have accumulated on the top of that tag. Now you see how you can see the walnut stain kind of seeped into the cracks of some of that. It's kind of cool that it gives it that vintagey vibe. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do, I have some of this washi tape. It's not washi tape. It's not really washi, because this is actually like a, how do you call it, like a clear tape, like you would do presents with, and it happens to be scalloped. So I'm going to put a little bit down at the bottom. It doesn't have to be perfect. Like, remember, this is a vintage vibe, so we want it to look as vintagey as we possibly can do. For that, I'm just trimming this off because it kind of got not sticky, because I had it flipped over so I could find the end. So like I said, it doesn't matter how you put this on here. If it goes over the edges or if it doesn't go over the edges, it's okay. Can't tear this because, like I said, it's like a clear clear tape more than it is washi. And I'm just going to fold that back on itself so I can find that end again. I don't know where I got this from. This is so old. And technically, I'm going to go back, because it's too bright for me, I'm going to put some more of that walnut stain on top, because then it becomes a little bit more vintagey. Okay? And we're going to clear some of this ink off of this mess. So, like I said, if anybody interested in the kit will come with, like I said, the tags, 2 rub-ons, 2 Sizzix rub-ons, and some ephemera and all that kind of stuff as well. For a price point would be $9.99 plus shipping. Let me know if you're interested in that in the description box below, and then I can reach out to you and we can discuss how we want to do that. So next up, because this is why I couldn't reproduce it perfectly, because I only have a couple pieces left of these rub-ons. So I'm just going to randomly place the rub-ons onto the tag, and you just use whatever you have to scratch it off. The other day I was just using my scissors like this, but these won't work because they got rubber on them. So we can just go ahead and use whatever we can find. This is just a, what you call this thing? I call it a pokey tool. And just go ahead and rub off. You can use a coin, but I don't have any close by. And you can always lift it up a little bit and see where you've missed the rub-on part. This is the fun part. You can do placement however you want, and you can cut off whatever you want on the rub-on. Like I accidentally made the other one how I did, and I put the rub on there just to see how it looked, and unfortunately it got stuck, so I had to finish it. I had to finish it off. So I was like, okay, let's just make this tag. Then I want to make it another tag, then I want to make it another tag. I'll show you the third one too after this video is over. So I'm just going to peel up that release paper and check. And if you miss some, you can always pick it up and put it somewhere else. Like this doesn't have to be on here perfect. That's what I like about this whole tag and mixed media aspect of it. You don't have to be perfect, okay? So here we have that. And because we have a little bit of room, I'm going to put this word spring down here, even though a lot of it's going to be covered up. I'm still going to put it on there, and I'm just going to trim it up. And we're going to just kind of put it on there. Some of it's going to go off, but we can randomly place that. You want to cover the whole thing up, you can. It will stick on top of that embossing glaze, so don't be concerned about that. Okay, so that should pretty much work. I'm not looking for it to be perfection. And so you say, what do you do with these tags? You can just give them as gifts. They can be like, you really can just make these like a card and send them in. Just put a little message on the back. You can use them as a card. Put them in junk journals. Put them in mini albums. Put them in scrapbook layouts. There's so much you can do with them. And like I said, if you want more pieces added to this, you can. I kind of like that, but we already got a flower, so I'm not going to put it on there. So we got that piece done. And you can just go ahead and throw all your scrap stuff away, okay? And then we're going to go in with our butterfly that we already cut using this embossing folder. And remember, I was going to cut this on camera, but it would shake up the table up really bad. So it's a 3D, so make sure you spritz your paper with water, not a whole lot, just a little bit, and you want to run it 2 or 3 times. And also when you run it through, make sure you catty corner it like a little bit, because if you go straight on it, that roller can pop out your die. Even though you can glue it back in, it can pop out your die. So just kind of be careful with that. So we have this, and we're kind of just going to play with it. You can decorate this and use whatever products you want. You can go ahead and use your re-inkers, your ink pads, your sprays, anything you want. So we're going to use the spray stain because I don't have, we're going to spray it like that. Then we'll dab it off with our rag, and a lot of it will sink in anyway, so don't be concerned about that because that's watercolor paper. So we got that. I like how that looks. And then we're going to go in with that Oxide walnut stain so we can go over the top. because it's, remember, it's a 3D embossing folder, so you're going to get those raised edges. And that's how I kind of got that look on the first one. To vintage it up, it's just kind of, I'm just dabbing and lightly pressing. Or you can go across like that. And like I said, you can use your paint as well. Okay. And then I'm going to take some across these edges just to fill it up, just to give it some depth. And it'll draw the eye in, so you won't have those white edges. You'll have these nice deep brown. All right, so I know this video may be a little bit longer than normal, but there's a lot of process to these, and I did a little bit of prep work. So I think it took me literally about 30 minutes to do this. And if you want to, which I did, I put some glitter on here as well. So you can use like some spray glitter, you know, to shimmy up your little butterfly and make it nice and pretty. Or if you have liquid glitter, you can do that. All depends on your taste and the aesthetic that you are going for. I'm just trying to find my lid for my ink, and it's like, where is it? That's okay, we'll find it. It's like, how many people lose stuff on their desk? Like, how many of us lose stuff on our desk? Because you can see on this one, I got a little bit of glitter and stuff on there. So you could do that however you want. And so I did was put some foam squares on it, but of course you can't find foam squares when you need them. But here it is. So I'm just going to grab, I'm going to cut it in half, and there we go. And I'm going to put it on the back of the butterfly. Just make sure that none of it is showing. I'm going to peel that up, that release paper off of there. My butterfly is a little bit wet from that. And what I do is too, you can shape this up a little bit, since this is a thicker cardstock that I use. You can shape this up and give it a little dimension. I'm just going to go ahead and let that, some of that spring show, not all of it, and let it go off the edges as well. Okay, so the last thing, one of the last things that we're going to do is I got some Archival. This is brown espresso, so it's a much darker brown, and we're going to put that, we're going to ink those edges up, like of the tag. So it's going to bring in a little bit more depth to it and draw your eye into that area of the center. Like I said, you can put, I put some gems on the other one. You don't have to. You can put whatever you want on here. It's like, this is your creation, and the fun of it is like, and if you don't have rubons, you can put napkins, you can use pieces of paper, you can use vellum, stamp on some acetate or stamp on some vellum. There's so many possibilities that you can do with that. So yeah, so I'm just going to keep going around with that. So that just darkens up those edges. Look, because it's a little bit darker than walnut stain is. And if you don't have oxides, you can use regular inks. It doesn't, that resist will still happen regardless of the type of product you use underneath. So that's like that. And then we have some trim. I'm actually going to put some of this in the store too. This is some trim that where you would get like 5 yards of it for $1. Like I said, it'll go in the Dollar Tree spot, Dollar Tea spot as well. So, but I'll link everything in the description box below. So, like I said, make sure you let me know in the description box below if you would be interested in a kit that would make 6 of these tags, because you can use this video as a reference for you to do that. So I'm just going to pull that through, give it that look. Like one of them, I put some natural jute on it. This one I just did because I kind of like this trim, because it has some green in it and some purple and some blues. And of course, you know, I didn't do that right, did I? Yeah, I did. I just didn't pull it tight enough. So I like it because it's like a little straggly, a little vintagey, so perfect, right? So that is the tag today. So that is, you have any questions? Also, make sure you leave them in the description box below. So I appreciate your time today. And like I said, each one can be different. So here are the 3 tags. 2 I made before, the one we just did on the video. And I have another one that is close by. This one is, it's like a beach. It is a beach. Like, I did some tea dye, distressed oxide, as well as the Salvaged Patina, and created the sand and the water and put a little starfish on there. This is going to go like in a mini album where you can put a little picture of you or your children, grandchildren, or family at the beach and put it inside of a mini album or put it inside of a scrapbook. You don't have to have all the string and stuff on it. So that is the tutorial for today. I hope this helps, and I hope you enjoy this. Make sure you click that like button if you liked it. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already, so you can get notified when I upload new videos in the future. So I want to thank you all for joining me today, and have a crafty day, y'all.